start with lineage prayer. Doje Janjen de lo na ro da ma ba me la ju je gam bo ba to sa je da ga je kara ma ba che ye jun je ju ba de na Jetan zazam baden bazo saloy jajan jelanganyebe nyamen rangan davoyan kanjela sawayan dezoyan kanjela Japan Zeno Nanda Jela Shelo Yangam Jengam Barazombai Seno Gala Jajeme Bada Sendra Dodai Jebe Nyega jamba meva jela logo yangam jengo zombaje nangondengo njebe Lama Yendo enzo debe ganjela Jeme maganjeva janjela Yeme gamjen ojra zombai Kanjarando vengo soyamande majende granjove ganjela ganjelo danjava Nando engo jagrazambaje Chiya maye jiraya javala Manga rombara jarave ganjela Konde yeme dobran chanjela Jeva gande yondala manda Dhame jeje ambala jeje Sadon lonje yadera doje jang govo nyadajo doje jang govo nyadajo Kita jangan nampak jawa maka saya menjadi jawa cenderung jampai yang lupa nanti. Ada dia kerja ada kalau dan dia jampai kalau mempunyai kerja jauh dia. Kita kalau jadi The Baba don't the Zalan boy, Java then Baganes on the Ba, Kaju and Bochala, Maja, and this one, Jigana, Kades on Jagan. Sangaza Lamaram Boja, Dodando, Lona Jala, Sanjay. Salamanje jeno dava sanje jengo onjane kando jeda kadanyane jela la salamanje je Oda nanga doa nyamba sanje daje nanje lana meba yanda bazo sanje je kumur Jine jonge baza, dewe jinan tambe chinda nye sinte tanya, yiba zawa nyamba samba sandiri. Taji barumbo je salta je samba je tala kong samba zawa. So please give Araj to Bodhicitta, thinking that we are having discussion. We're having discussion about Dharma for the benefit of all sentient beings to achieve enlightenment, especially wholeheartedly or sincerely cultivating bodhicitta towards our current condition. It's a very tragic war. Those people who are caused, who are involved, who became victim. So much suffering going on, and so sometimes, like when people ask us, how are you doing? And of course, life is not that easy. Sometimes, we go through some challenges, especially pandemic, but compared to what's going on out there, it's just so minor, and sometimes kind of kind of a little bit embarrassing to talk about, our own little little world or little situation that we feel it's very, suffering. Because all sentient beings, of course, have a single goal, that is want to experience happiness and free from suffering. Especially for us, it's very obvious because we can express, we can explain, we can protest, we can do, as a human being, we can do so many, it's very become vocal, and we have voice. But then sometimes, like our happiness is, or the suffering is something so personal. It's something that we make decision that what is happiness and what is suffering. And so the decision that we make, or it may not be a real solution for happiness or solution for, we feel, okay, if we have, if we change in different clothes, or maybe, have a different setup about our room, or maybe changing different friends, or changing all kind of, as we can see, that everyone has, they call fashion show. When you go to fashion show, everyone has different style. They think, oh, this could bring happiness, this and that. But according to Buddha's teaching, that happiness is something very personal, but at the same time, it is something very simple, with very innate, very simple. Why I say innate is that when we begin to search happiness by using, by following external objects or appearances, and because our happiness is very personal, our happiness is innate. Therefore, there's not much connection, and that's why what Buddha said was, there's no way I experience happiness or have satisfaction unless we reduce we reduce our own negative emotion, which is very innate and very personal. So the negative emotion that we experience is once again made a choice by ourselves. This is a feeling that I'm experiencing is something I don't like, and then I have to totally change environment. I have to change our condition, etc. But that was not what Buddha taught. So Buddha's teaching is that your happiness is very innate, but it is not far from emotion, the emotion that we experience, stress that we experience. Because we stressed, we have experienced emotion by made a wrong choice, wrong decision, thinking that happiness is something you can experience from outside of that emotion, outside of that stress. But Buddha basically taught that this very emotion, this very stress that we don't like is actually the other side of it. It is happiness. There's no happiness beyond this very emotion. Earlier, after I chanted the lineage prayer, I was kind of looking for a picture and I couldn't find it. But the picture is with my teacher, Kemburumbuche. I don't recall exactly where that picture was taken. But the picture is like this. Rinpoche was pointing his fingers in the sky. And there were so many other people, and it was very like a kind of personal level because I was there. I could see myself. I was when Rinpoche pointed the finger in the sky. I was kind of not looking at his finger, but I was looking into sky where he pointing. Excuse me. I have very strange way of teaching. So when I mentioned that happiness is very innate, so when we begin to experience this unknowing emotions, unknowing emotions or stress, I don't like, I myself really try to avoid any emotions, but I always caught into it and I don't like it, But then simply don't like doesn't really bring the solution. Instead, what Buddha said that happiness is actually within that emotion. So just like Rinpoche pointing his fingers in the sky, that is an example that also used in teachings that there's a moon, a half moon, or in the sky, saying there's a moon. So if we look at so the teacher shows you where's the moon. I know I'm very confusing you guys, but I'm enjoying it, making you confused. You see, bad mind. What can you do? So when it says there's a moon, so if I look at his fingers, just only see, oh, the finger, and I never have the opportunity to see the moon. But instead, if I, really, instead of just looking at his finger, like this, and then you look at the moon, oh, that's a beautiful moon there. So the moon is not, moon is in the sky where Buddha is pointing. So when we experience these emotions, we normally kind of, it's confusing a little bit where we normally kind of following that the emotional feeling, and but instead, I think the example, and this is not so matching, but instead, if we what Buddha said, if we kind of have the wisdom or understanding to look at the projection of that emotion, which is sometimes we call rays of wisdom. So these emotions that we experience, consider rays of, it's a rays of wisdom. It's not really something suffering. Sometimes we experience challenges in life, and when you know how to face it skillfully, it may not be a challenge. It becomes really, makes you more sharper. You become more experienced, more, more brave. I don't think I give a good example of that picture, but another example I normally give is It's used in text about throwing stone to lion versus throwing stone to dogs, and I never had chance to throw stones to lions because I never saw lion in Tibet. Even they call it snow lion of Tibet, but I never heard of this. But I did used to throw stones to the dogs, and they follow the stones. But apparently, if you throw a stone to the lion, they don't, follow the stone. They will come to you. What's the source of the problem? That is you, and they will just, eat you up. So what I'm trying to say is that you probably heard this again and again. Is that the problem could be made by ourselves making a wrong choice by following those feelings, those emotions. And especially Vajrayana practitioner, when you experience these emotions, as it's taught in teachings that, your emotions are very, very special. They are sacred. They are the manifestation of deity. They are manifestation of wisdom. Even though you may not have that experience right away, but simply changing concept, simply understanding, you feel a sense of a sense of relief, I would say, I suppose, a sense of relief. And then the second is that I said emotion is very personal. Emotion is very personal because everybody is that different. Everybody is experienced differently, and the method can be various. So why I say these teachings at the related with the Hundu practice, because in Hundu practice, everybody considered as for beginners, a stepping stone. It's not really actual practice. It is something. There will be something very unique could occur later if you just do the Hundu practice, etc. But the Hundu practice begins with 4 thoughts, and then 4 thoughts, which is we call common preliminaries. Starts with pressing birth, impermanence, etc. And for example, like impermanence, we call Mahamudra preliminary practice. All of them very essentially connected with our emotions, or how to liberate our emotions. For example, like impermanence is so wonderful, so profound. I have another group, and someone said, lately I become very lazy and don't feel enjoy, my emotions very big, and what kind of Mahamudra or Dzogchen practice you should do. And my recommendation was impermanence, because impermanence is not just, everything changed, but it's so personal, so related with your emotion. Because in reality, the suffering that we experience is an accumulation of wrong view, which means so concrete and so permanent and nothing can change. I feel so you're constantly building. It doesn't mean your feelings not changing, but we constantly adding, building, and that's how emotions so powerful. Instead, if you understand this emotional stress and nature of impermanence, nature of impermanence, it just I just have a lot of stress of it's just changing, constantly changing, instant by changing. This is called Mahamudra preliminary practice, like impermanence, changing. one moment you feel pretty bad, but at the same time, if you know it's impermanence, you will not be, you will not be discouraged. You have courage. You have a feeling of a confidence. Oh, it's changing. I feel bad, but it's changing. And then a karmic condition like karma and cause. Absolutely. If we don't understand these emotions are impermanent, if we don't know how to kind of liberate, then there's consequences. Every emotion we experience, like anger or something concrete, and then the consequences very severe, like anger, such as. So then, like a precious human birth, we say precious human birth, but everyone has Buddha nature, but human beings, we have a precious human birth because what human life or this body contains is a Buddha nature, and we recognize that Buddha nature. Not every sentient being, every people have precious human birth, but those of us who understand about Dharma, this body is nothing more than the temple of Buddha nature, the temple of wisdom. And so our precious human birth is very essentially connected with Mahamudra. And of course, defects of samsara, and on one hand, what it's explaining is that if we constantly follow our emotions, and there's no ending, there's the suffering of change, suffering of the conditions, suffering of suffering, etc. But then on the other hand, as Mathieu Buddha mentioned, that the samsara is nothing more than confusion. Nirvana is nothing more than nirvana is nothing more than absence of confusion. So that confusion we experience and building the samsara is kind of transformative. It can be transformed because the nature of that confusion, nature of this delusion is nothing more than wisdom. So the four thoughts, we always connected with the Mahamudra practice. There are many great masters emphasis about one yana, or like essence of all the practice into one practice, which is everything, the liberation of thought. And so there's one Dragon Kaji master, famous, the founder of Dragon Kaji is Kyopan Jitin Sungen, was who taught all the Buddha's three yanas into this Mahamudra practice, or the four thoughts are Mahamudra practice. All of this very essentially connected with Mahamudra. So that is, I guess, just introduction, I guess. But then, of course, physical level of the practice of Ngondro, like Kembrumbachi always teach that those of us who practice Ngondro, and we must, do this 100,000 prostration, 100,000 Vajrasattva, 100,000 mandala practice, 100,000 Guru Yoga, and with diligence. With diligence means definition of diligence is very delightful, not like by complaining about prostration or such, but because you understand that every prostration you do purifying negative karma and closer to realization. So with such joy. Supposed to be question and answer session, but I just said some things like that. So if you have any questions, that's the our teaching is a little bit of guide practice, or then I always don't stay with the plat schedule.
Lama Karma, I have a question. Your upcoming classes on Nundro,
Mhm.
do they start with are you going to talk about prostrations, or do they start with the mandala and guru offerings, or and Vajrasattva?
By the way, I received your email through Max, and I saw you mentioned that in your email. And I already taught the first part of the prostration part. I don't remember exact month, but on KTD's schedule, and I taught in details about prostration and visualization, recitation, went through the liturgy, etc. And that's why I just the next 8 classes starting with Vajrasattva. So I will be using few sessions because there are 8 classes, and so I probably use 2 or 3, maybe 2 classes for Vajrasattva. Then Mandala is a little longer, so probably use 3, and then Guru Yoga maybe 3 classes. So I will be covering the rest of the 3.
Okay, that's great. That answers the question that I had. Thank you. I'm so looking forward to it. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I have 1 fan already.
Yes.
But my question is then the teaching that you did on the prostrations themselves, is that recorded so it can be seen?
It was recorded, and in fact, I did mention to our president that some people want to have that prostration part since it's already recorded, and she said something like people have to register to get the recording or something. Maybe you can check with KTD office, since I may directly say maybe you would like to have the recording of the first part, and you already have, if you have, I think you already have transmission, right?
Yes.
Transmission. Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
If that's available, would you encourage people to watch it? Would they have time to watch it before your class starts next Wednesday? If they watch 2 or 3, how many sessions are there for those classes?
I think it's 2 sessions. I don't remember. You see, I forget so easily.
Yeah. Well, I just know how much.
I would say this, those people, it seems like, all of the teachings that KTD, teaching that I give, other campus give on KTD, and anybody seems like could register, which means that if you haven't started prostration or already started, or you still receive Vajrasattva or Mandala or other practices, that it seems like there's no kind of restrictions. So another word, I still don't know how to get the recording. I don't know if KDD could release the recording on time, how to register. I really don't know how they handle it. But even you don't have those, you still may receive the Vajrasattva transmission and others as well,
By the way, I think we can try to find out if we can get it from KTD, because I think quite a lot of people are in the beginning of Nundro and want to do prostration. So
absolutely, yeah. And then there are like others like looking forward to have Vajrasattva, and then there's Mandala people, and there's Guru Yoga people, and people out there.
By the way, Lama Kama, in the way you teach Nundro, when you tell people, do you normally recommend before prostrations to sort of study or stay on the four thoughts that turn the minds to the Dharma?
Some teaching styles, they kind of, suggesting like months of recollection of four thoughts. And I never did that before, because how Rinpoche taught is that he said that would be nice, but people practicing Mundo, every day they have to chant the four thoughts, and this is something not like recollecting a few months or few hours. It's something you have to recollect, throughout your life. There's no kind of particular session about, that's supposed to be the, every day kind of practice, right? So in other words, what Rinpoche was saying, that it doesn't require to do the four thoughts contemplation first before you practice prostration or something. Did I understand that?
Also, if I may ask another question, I think Charles was asking this earlier or mentioned it. There was at some point, I don't think, I never heard it directly, but apparently His Holiness at some point at the Mon Lama somewhere suggested for some people to do a lesser amount of numbers. Is that still relevant? Or do you know anything about that?
I do know there are like a Mingyur Rinpoche, some I heard some like masters recommend to only do 10,000 each of them. 10,000 prostration, 10,000 Vajrasattva, etc. And then regard with His Holiness, he composed a new version of Ngunru Sadhana, and then everybody thought, well, this is much shorter. And some people heard that, His Holiness said maybe could do like 10,000 prostration or something. And I was in Bodhgaya in 2010 and also 2012 or something, twice. And there were people practicing his Ngunru. And I asked His Holiness that, was it true that you suggested to do 10,000? He said, no, I never said that. They must do the full full number. So that's what he said, but I don't know if maybe he said later that maybe, I don't know if there are any other comments. But regard with Khenpo Rinpoche, there's no other choices. Rinpoche said that everybody wants to have luxury, make a lot of money, etc., but nobody wants to do a lot of meritorious action. This is degeneration. That's what he said. He said, you must do 100,000 postage, 100,000 Vajrasattva, etc.
So for those that wanted, they might go to Mingyur Rinpoche.
Well, I have no comment on that. I really do think that, seriously, I do think that, because our, our aim is to really liberate from samsara, right? So even though, because we are a little bit spoiled, I would say, in our country, that on one hand, I totally understand, occupied with all this, job and family, etc. On the other hand, similar, like in Tibet, everybody has family, and when they do, the Ngunru practice, and they could do this whole Ngunru practice, very short period of time. My dad is 75 years old. He does 200 prostration every day. So it's just also mentality, right? How really you really engage into Dharma, no question. This is so valuable, and I can't waste my time. That's what they have,
Charles, I want to add something. If you look at Mingyur Rinpoche's website, he has some Vajrayana programs, and some of them require Nundro. And he's saying you have to complete 111,000 of each of the 4 sections of Nundro. He does not allow the shorter version.
That's great to hear. I mean, that clarifies that.
Yeah, I think Manjurimbuchi, no, really, the curriculum is very good. Maybe certain practice requires 10,000 but you know,
Do you feel that Nundro practice is important to at least start to do the other practices of the Vajrayana?
absolutely, absolutely. You know, that's why we call preliminary practice. And of course, you know, people have different physical conditions, different age, different, you know, and like Kembrumich always mentioned, I know I'm very, very core follower of Kembrumich, you know, and he always mentioned to people that if you really can do, seriously can do physical prostration because maybe you have some physical limitation, and then, but you still can't say I can't do, you know, Ngundu practice. You still could recite 100,000, 100,000, 111,000 recitation of, you know, prayers or the refuge prayer, 111,000 like such. So if you can't really do physically, you know, prostration physically, it's very important. I think it's very important because it's so, you know, involved with meritorious actions. And like Rinpoche used to talk about, some individuals there, before they reach to Mahamudra level of like, you know, real sitting Mahamudra and such introduction, and they already, because of their devotion, their diligence and the meritorious actions, they do many prostrations, naturally realize nature of mind before you even get to the actual so-called, you know, actual Mahamudra content instructions.
Makama, can I say something personal, an experience?
If it's personal,
No, I mean, like, yeah, it's not a
yeah,
question.
yes,
It's not a
I
question.
see.
It's not a question. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. Please.
I think this is from my own experience doing Nundro, that there's two things I always thought about, which was I have to finish it as soon as possible. And the other thing was that there is this next practice which is coming. And it took me, or it takes me till now to sort of realize and think about Nundro not as like something where you go somewhere else, but that is actually the practice you're doing right now. So
Yeah,
not,
that's exactly what Rinpoche used to say. You know, people always excited. Next practice, even like in a retreat. Oh, I'm looking forward to do like 6 Dhammas from Naropa. You know, and Rinpoche always say, how successful your practice would be. It's up to whether you are successful with your current practice. You know. Yes. Did I interrupt you? Did you finish? Oh, thank you.
What's
Oh,
the
hold on.
average time?
Please.
What's the average, I guess, amount of time does an average practitioner finish Nundro? What's like an average? Because everyone has a different, they do a different amount every day, right?
Exactly. Yeah. No, I would once again borrow what Rinpoche used to say, because I think normal people, normal practitioner, when I say normal, like not like in a retreat or like, you know, someone doing particular retreat, and he always suggests don't, you know, you begin with the like 21 prostration, or then maybe slowly add up, and once you get to 100, you know, don't go down. So you do at least 100 prostration a day. And you know, it's just people are just so busy, and you know, weekends, it's if you sometimes like take you know, like a retreat, right, like prostration retreat, like a Sunday will be, you know, 1 day prostration retreat, you may be able to finish a few thousand, you know. So it's really up to individual. And one thing I always would like to say that you have to make sure you have that diligence. Diligence means delight to do the practice. It's not something nowadays, I probably experienced myself many times that people kind of worry about their practice. Oh, I still have to do practice, It's just almost like a duty that is not really delightful. That truly shows that we did not understand Dharma. We did not focus on the four thoughts, If you see a practice as a painful rather than delightful, so we have to recharge or maybe read some serious biography of like Milarepa or something, right? Especially impermanence is so important. And I expressed before that it's kind of a, as a practitioner, someone who trusts in karmic condition, and as Shendendra mentioned, that we don't really know whether the death comes first or tomorrow comes first. So that's the concept, as a practitioner should take. And so if you have that kind of concept, then you feel this urgency. At the same time, you are very happy to looking forward to practice rather than, oh no, I have to practice, right? While you practice, we just, kind of wasted with emotion, energy, no bodhicitta, nothing, just a boom, 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 do a few postations, and with postation with the first station becomes really accumulation of negative karma. It no longer it doesn't capture any dharma or meritorious actions. Prostration is really wonderful. You might think it's really bad, but physically very, very energizing, very healing, so beautiful.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Very good questions, you see?
Any last questions, anyone?
Oh, no,
So-
that was the last question. I feel sad.
Well, I just would like to review or when your classes are going to be held, Lama Karma, if people still want to sign up. I was pleased to hear you said people could join these later stages just to hear it, even if they haven't started the prostration part. But when are you giving the classes?
It starts on May 4th, which is very soon, and then which is Wednesday, and then every Wednesday for 8 classes and something, you have to register through KTD, and only registered people can join that.
Yeah, the fact you did it at 8 p.m. Eastern time gives those of us on the West Coast time 5 p.m.
I think
to be
that,
able to work and also do it. So
yeah,
that
I
helps.
think
It's a
it
Wednesday.
starts 7 p.m.
No, 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Eastern time.
8 p.m.
Which is-
to 9:30.
Yes.
Oh,
And
okay.
on the West Coast for us, it's 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m.
Oh,
So we can still work a full day. I was able to leave work a half hour early to make it on time.
thank you. Thank you.
So if there's any other questions on any topic quickly, we can take those as well.
I have a question. How are you guys doing? How's the Sunshine State?
Dry.
What was the question? Oh, how's the sunshine state?
Sunshine State.
Oh, it's cold.
Cold?
Yeah.
California.
Today is
Sorry.
very cold in New York,
Oh, it is cold in New York? Yeah.
and I like it. I really like cold. I like hot. I like all weathers, humid. I also like snowing, and just every time snow freeze, I walking outside. I feel so good. Today's really kind of freezing air, and
Wow.
and I went outside just to, it's kind of goes through your skin like, that's kind of, I like it, but
I have a question.
yes, please.
Something you mentioned a few teachings back. Who are or what are the Nagas?
Naga is part of animal realm, and traditionally, let's say, Nagas kind of mostly reside in like oceans, or like in Tibet. It's very well known. They're like what's called spring water, like water source. They always have like little look like stupa, built. We call Naga house. So sometimes Nagas, excuse me, Nagas form manifest as frogs or snakes, and so Naga is a type of very powerful being, but also it's part of animal, and it's even though they are kind of powerful, but still suffering a lot. You probably remember my story about there were two friends who made us, who practiced one-day fasting practice, and then one of the friend who didn't really maintain his fasting vow practice broke it, and then he took rebirth as a Naga. His aspiration was to take rebirth as a god,
Mm.
So he was suffering a lot, and he was just searching for liberation. So Naga is a type of sentient being, part of animal realm.
Hmm.
So it looks like you are a Nagaland. You have this little ocean, no, the water. Be careful, the snakes, or
Well,
if you're in Florida, the crocodile.
that's actually sort of appropriate because I live where I live because it is very easy to go into out of a developed area and into land that is wild. And I actually like to see wild animals and snakes and tarantulas and spiders and birds.
Bear,
I'm sorry?
bear.
No, we don't have bears. No. The biggest thing around here would be a mountain lion. And I have seen their footprints, but I've never actually seen one.
One time I walked in Albuquerque, and all of a sudden I see my left side of the trailer is a big rattlesnake.
Hmm.
Oh,
And
no.
his head is like almost my level. It's very close, like that. I was so amazed. It's just so beautiful. I had no fear. I was like, wow, you're just so beautiful. Look at you. You can you can extend your tongue. It's so beautiful. Look at your eyes. I was fearless. And you know what happened? He or she, I don't know, lowered his head slowly. She went into grass, like very flat.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Wow.
So they really sense, if I
Mhm.
was afraid like that, I probably
Mhm.
Yeah.
won't be a teacher.
If you remain calm, they will basically look at you for a while and then they'll go on their way.
I tell you,
Wow.
I become calmer. I don't know. It's kind of, so just so beautiful. This rattlesnake, it's like, and it's just proportion in the eyes, so beautiful. You are so beautiful. I'm so happy I'm on the payment home. and just so
Uh-huh.
calm. And then after my friend told me, you should have died or something. Then it scared me.
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
I walked by one before at Will Rogers State Park, but I didn't notice it. My friend told me, but it didn't do anything. Does it? If you just walk by, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, they
I don't
have to
know.
feel a sense. Well, it depends on the exact species, because
Okay.
some of them are more reactive. We have two different types of rattlesnakes here. And I've noticed that fortunately, the one that we don't have many of, that's a snake that will start rattling before you can see it, and you're still several feet away. But most of the rattlesnakes around here are the calmer ones that will look at you as long as you're not like right on top of them, and give you a chance to admire them before they turn and go into the grass or go back to whatever it is that we're doing.
Yeah.
So this was kind of, since we're talking about animals,
Yes, sir.
it seems like the animal world must have its own sort of karmic rules or set of karma, because what makes some animals happy, well, there's a predator and prey relationship, like your cat and birds, for example. What makes the cat happy is going to make the bird unhappy. What makes a tick happy, the tick, when it bites me, it's happy. It's going to be unhappy. I'm going to be unhappy because I don't want to be bitten by ticks, because you can get diseases from it. And it just sort of seems like all creatures want happiness, but in the animal world, it sort of seems like because they've taken rebirth in the animal realm, they are subject to a particular set of karmic rules that cause them to be in this relationship, like predator and prey.
Yeah. According to Buddha's teaching, Buddha's always talk about previous life, and sometimes like some of those animals, like you used the example of my cat and mouse. Maybe the mouse used to be cat or something, other predator killed, and then have to and having purified the negative karma, has to return, pay back. And when we talk about animals, if you look at the liturgies in Buddhist chanting or teaching, sometimes you kind of see there's a little bit of animals not so smart, like based on ignorance, they took rebirth as the animals, and then people don't like that because people say that pigs and others so very smart, but Buddha's definition about the smartness is about really, if you teach them how to meditate, how to recite mantras, how to understand about karma, so that's the one lacking. There's no way you can really teach like human beings. It doesn't mean that they have some intelligence, but that intelligence is not sufficient to understand about actual karmic condition, about compassion or such, right? And like you can teach parrots, how to recite Aman Peme Home, but while they recite Aman Peme Home, they just eat bugs, You can't really, they can imitate sound, but you can't teach,
I have a question about that then, Lama Karma. So
Yes.
if animals then are so driven by instinct so much, how do they accumulate the karma over time to eventually evolve out of the animal kingdom?
This is a wonderful question. So there are three things I think I can kind of, may not be accurate answer, but I can try. Number one is that regardless who they are, whether it's an animal or someone, individuals, people done like terrible things, but they never ever lose the Buddha nature. The Buddha nature is ready to awaken anytime. Another word, like, we talked about earlier, we talked about meditation, and we just so caught into the current emotion, and we just feel like it's just so relentless. There's no space whatsoever, but only because we don't take opportunity with our emotion. There's always Buddha nature. The innate wisdom is ready to awake, and midst of those emotions. So it's a pervasive, right? Pervasive. I used to talk about, this is something other people will be really get bored. Again, I talk about like you have this really feeling so stressed, so much emotion, and then we just like, oh, how I can get out of this. But then sometimes if you really, a little bit slow down and looking inwardly, there's the wisdom does not really interfere by that emotion. So there's a sense of quietness, sense of innocence within that emotion. It's very healing. So we don't, sometimes we just want to go out of this. That's number one, what I'm trying to say, that every sentient being have Buddha nature. The Buddha nature doesn't make any difference whether if individual born in Hellram doesn't make it worse. So everyone has Buddha nature. That means, there's even this flower seed, kind of tortured, tormented, or whatever, all kind of destroying happens. It's just seed is there, one day ready to open. So in other words, animals, they go through karmic conditions, but the Buddhas, the Buddha's aspiration, Bodhisattva's aspiration is very also pervasive. They always make aspirations. Then, sometimes like there's some kind of a karmic condition connects, and then that's how they kind of awaken, right? So there's always opportunity for any sentient beings. Like Buddha Shakyamuni, based on his life stories, that he was sentient being at the beginningless time. So many animal realms, went through hell realm, everything, but didn't become Buddha, right? So that is so inspiring for us. Otherwise, like, it's hopeless, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I recently just heard the 16th Karmapa, His Holiness said that, and then the mantra is so powerful that even, reciting the Mani mantra, even if the smallest creature like an ant hears the mantra, it can help them to become liberated or to help them accumulate karma. So an animal being born in an area or near sacred or holy things can help that animal.
Absolutely. There was talking about like a pig was chased by a dog, and the pig has a little dirt on his nose. He was just so scared, went around the stupa 3 times, and then later on he was born in such emanation of such. And even like the fly on that dirt, the dirt landed into the stupa crack, fixed that, and the fly was there, So there's always making connections, and like we call liberation of hearing. So if you see any animal or a sentient beings, or even like it's suggested, if it's allowed legally, that it's like if you go in state forest or something, you can chant a little loud, or something. But of course, you have to make sure police doesn't come. But you mentioned the ant. I have a question. This is really important for me. So I having some problem with ants. I want to have some suggestion. I know it's teaching about them. It is related with them. I have some ants in my bathroom. There's a wall. There's little not much crack, but ants goes there, and I just don't know. I mean, I used some vinegars or others. I don't want to terminate them, using poison or such like a treat. So I try to vacuum them. I tell you, nobody get killed. I vacuum them and then go outside, reset mantra, move somewhere, and then same thing happens. How many I move, they're still there. And one of my friends suggested put some chili powder, which after you move, I did it, and all of us were coughing. Not the ants, but me and my family. So I kind of ran out of option, and then someone said maybe you can fix that wall, but and this is just an ant come through the door. So
Cinnamon.
Or
Huh?
sriracha.
Cinnamon.
okay, please, one
Or sriracha.
one by one, please. Sriracha sounds like a Sanskrit. What is it?
It's like a
Spicy sauce.
mhm.
Tastes good.
Cinnamon. Oh, cinnamon.
That's what I read.
So cinnamon, it's a spicy.
No, cinnamon's not spicy.
It's
Kind of
Well,
spice. It's a spice. It's not spicy.
it's a spice,
Yeah.
but it doesn't have capsicum in it, which is what makes peppers taste hot.
hot. Yeah.
So I just put on
Sriracha is-
ground. I mean, where the
Yeah, put it on the
ants are, like-
ground so they just don't like it. They'll go somewhere else.
Oh, I like
Yeah,
that
they're not a
cinnamon.
big fan of it.
It's a powder.
Yes,
Yeah, it's like a powder, like cinnamon toast,
cookies. It's in cookies.
cookies. Yeah,
Oh,
it's like a
lots of
holiday
baked-
thing.
In lots of baked things, you have cinnamon.
Oh, cinnamon
I
bread.
don't know.
Oh, cinnamon rolls.
Okay, cinnamon. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
What else? There
Or
was
sriracha.
something else. What is
Sriracha.
sriracha?
That's really
Somebody else has
good.
to type it in the chat. I don't know how to write that.
Oh yeah, sriracha.
Yeah. Please. Is this you can get in grocery store?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
For the liquid.
Roy,
Spell it right?
any hot sauce would work.
Yeah. true.
Tabasco is probably easy to find in New York.
Right.
Sriracha should be easy to find. It's heavily promoted.
It has
By the soy
same
sauce.
effect-
Sorry?
the sriracha has the same effect as the chili powder, except you wouldn't inhale it wouldn't make you cough because you inhaled the powder and things like that, but it's still spicy like the chili powder.
Yeah, I put chili, but everybody like
Yeah.
and it took a while to even wash it because it just kind of sink on the floor and it becomes red and it's like
I don't know. We used to, in our house, in another house where I lived, where we had lots of ants. First of all, they always kept coming in the summer, or in a certain time they would come. And then, so I don't know, it worked for us. Sometimes we put baby powder, like talcum powder to the area. And somehow they wouldn't want to step over the talcum powder. But like you say, I think they try to find different ways usually. So if you have those gaps in the walls, like they have very often here in the buildings, then they just go around somewhere else. So you can't put on the whole house powder everywhere.
It's just a certain time they come, like it could be like few hundred,
Yeah.
And then there's has feather, like some of the ants feather. It's like, I don't know, they're chasing each other. It's some kind of almost like a native dance or something. I don't,
But you know that they say because you see only a few ants, but the colony is giant. So yes, there's a few hundred coming out, but there's many, many more thousands in the colony. So
do you think the colony, those ants has feather, it's some kind of queens or something?
oh, the feathered ants, that could be termites. You mean they have wings? They have wings?
There are few of them wings.
if you have,
That could be termites.
Bad,
they-
bad news.
yeah, and so if they come out and they sort of fly a little and then they
Yeah.
die relatively soon,
Oh, really?
I mean, that sounds like termites because the drone termites, which are necessary for the queen to reproduce, those are the ones that you see coming out of the wall. And where the type we have here, the drone comes out and it sort of flies not very well, and they don't live very long after that.
So this termites produce all these small ants?
No, the
No.
termites don't look like ants.
Is there dust around? Is it from, are they chewing the wood that there's residue of dust?
Yeah, like a very
'Cause
fine
if you
powder.
can see that, they're eating the wood. It's dangerous for your house.
This is gonna be very good recording. It's like, what?
Oh, yeah,
Well,
I stopped the recording.
Yeah.
next